Hello and welcome to the Dripping Hartnell Podcast. My name is Connor Chadwick and I'm joined here by Connor J. Sumner.
Howdy doody.
Jimi Wolfe.
Hello.
And Aidan O'Connor.
I'm the only one with Connor not in their name, I just realised.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so we're going to be talking about the final 60th anniversary special that came out a few days ago called The Giggle, which I really hate the way that happened. Because that was not planned.
That was not planned at all.
Everyone had the same idea.
Yeah. So yeah, what did everyone think? The return of the toy maker, goodbye to 14, hello to 15. What did everyone think?
I mean, I personally, it was one of those. So if I was to rank it, of these three specials, I would probably put. I think I put Wild Blue Yonder first, because obviously I wasn't here for the last one, so I would say I was absolutely blown away by that, and I loved. The thing I loved most about that was the amount of practical special effects they used was just phenomenal in Wild Blue Yonder, and it was such a simple story, minimal cast, minimal set, minimal design, but they made it so big and expansive. So it has to take the top spot for me on that one. The Giggle would come second, just purely because there wasn't anything I didn't dislike about it, but it just wasn't as good as Wild Blue Yonder. And the Star Beast was all right, but it's not particularly my favorite. I personally, I don't think it was a hugely strong opener, but that's just my opinion. But yeah, the Giggle I thought was absolutely fantastic. It had everything that I was expecting it to have and more, which is quite a rare thing for I think a Doctor Who special. You get a lot of them that are quite sort of big and expansive, and they do live up to your expectations, but it's very rare that I find one that exceeds expectations.
I agree with Jimmy on the ranking. Like, I honestly think Wild Blue Yonder is the best kind of Russell writing you get, but the Giggle was incredible. Like, honestly, I'm still on a sort of my own little post regeneration like buzz after it. Like, but I can understand with the Star Beast. I think with the Star Beast, it's just at the beginning, obviously, because it was the first real special we had back with Who after so long, there was an energy to go, oh my God, look at this. Now you kind of just like, after seeing the other two, you're kind of like, it's about quieter, but the Giggle, I'll say this, I watched How I Met Your Mother for years, and Neil Patrick Harris is just a standout, absolute class act, loved it, and my own mother would say she adored the Spice Up Your Life sequence with him.
Yeah.
So that and Shooty, man. Honestly, yeah. Loved it.
We'll get to him because we've got a whole podcast to do, and I need to keep that in my pants until we get to that bit.
Sumner, what did you think of the Giggle?
Again, I will refrain from talking about Shooty until later.
Yes.
But all in all, I thought it was very, very good. I very much enjoyed it. We got, the very much a setup of a unit spin-off, with, they've got a funny alien robot in it. It's gonna have a spin-off. I am the Vlinks. But I like the Vlinks as well.
We didn't get enough of explanation for that, I thought. I'm guessing that that's gonna be in the spin-off, assuming there actually is one, which is obviously what everyone's saying.
I would imagine there would be.
But that was the one thing I think that was under-explained, is you just had this Vlinks character. It's like, it's a brilliant character, but tell us more.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that's what they were trying to get people to say was, when are we going to find out more? And they're going to go,
I love the voice of the Blinks.
Who was the voice? Was it somebody regular, or was it?
Who do you think it was? Who do you think it was?
I mean, I'm inclined to say Nick Briggs.
It was Nick Briggs.
Of course, it was Nick Briggs.
But it kind of reminded me ever so slightly. What's that? There's a kind of comedy version of Star Trek. Is it the Orville?
Oh yes,
the Orville.
They've got like a kind of posh alien robot.
Yeah.
It reminded me a little bit of that voice ever so slightly, but I kind of like the design, and it's simple enough for someone to get into that suit anyway, because it's practical, because you've got all the robot wires leading out of it.
Well, I actually just watched the video commentary, and apparently he's like in his next appearances he's like spruced up a bit, and the way sort of Phil Collinson described it was like he imagines it as being the Vlinks having just been like pulled out of wreckage from an alien ship, and now he's been installed in unit to help out, but apparently he's going to get a bit of a spruce up because he's all sort of like rusty and that in the Giggle, isn't he? So he's going to get a bit more, he's going to get spruced up a little bit.
Sorry, Connor.
I know, I was just going to say that, like, the way that they do it is good. It's okay for this special, I think, because they've got so many moving parts that they're just like, yeah, that's the, what's that? Oh, it's the Blinks. The Blinks? Oh, it's the Blinks. Okay, so like they're just gonna, it was, I think in the terms of the situation of the special, you're allowed to sort of get away with it. But obviously, the good thing is we are probably going to see that explained further on, which is handy, I guess.
I do kind of like the idea that unit, despite the fact the last time we saw them was maybe 3 episodes prior, and their entire operation completely crashed to the ground. It's nice to see that they, got that building so bloody quick, but also they kept active. They met alien life, and it wasn't all bad. And it was kind of like, it was nice to show, like, as well as like this. I mean, there's something we were talking about before we started recording. The scale that unit is now at.
Yeah.
Originally they have a building in Power of the Doctor when we last see them. They've got a building, and they're still very private. But in this one, they've
got the Avengers Tower.
Yeah, they've got that tower in the middle of London, which of course begs a lot of questions as to what year is this, because that tower was not there. They had a tower in that area literally the last time we saw them, and it collapsed. Like, why? Who trusted them again with another lease? Like, what I mean? Or who was the developer that allowed that to get built? You know what I mean? Like,
but Connor's building sensors are tingling.
Yeah, I know. Who snagged this? No, but like, it's just a case of like when you think about what the world, that Doctor Who world looks like now. It's in the middle of London. It's part of its skyline now. It can't be. You've got a military in the middle of London now. It's not in some barracks somewhere. It's in the middle of the city, and it's worth. I think, and I hope it's explored at some point, maybe in the units. If there's, is it confirmed a unit spin-off? Really?
I mean, it's heavily implied. I would say at this point, isn't it? It's kind of it's not been officially announced, but I think enough's been said by people, who obviously on Doctor Who on Twitter and other things like that. And it's kind of got to the point now where it seems like it feels like it would be a big farce if it was untrue.
Yeah.
Haven't had it confirmed, but let's be honest, it's probably going to happen.
So can we just have a moment of silence for that one poor bastard that had to go through and snag the whole new unit building?
I feel that. God, I hope Aidan, imagine if he had to use Autodesk.
It was one of the Chadwick cousins, I'm sure.
Yeah, no, honestly, the poor bastard who had to snag it. What about the poor bastard who had to do the admin for that building?
Yeah, it'd be me and you. It'd be me, I'd be the one snagging it.
Well, if I could just get things back on track, building plans. There is one cameo that we got, a special guest star that we got in the Giggle, going back to the Vlinks, who I think many of us were happy to see again, would have been Miss Trinity Wells. Made a reappearance, of course. Yes. It was one of those ones. I think everybody, you could have had any guest star. You could have had. I mean, you genuinely could have had Susan come back or some of that, and it's a shame they didn't. But I think for a modern audience, Trinity Wells is kind of like one of those ones. It's like, she's back. You know, it really was a kind of. It was good.
It's kind of apt, really, because it's almost like what they've done with. I know there's a bit of an odd section to go into, with what they've done recently. For example, with a character from the Marvel movies in Spider-Man, J. Jonah Jameson, turning from a newspaper guy into a podcast, an angry podcaster. They've kind of done with Trinity is a similar thing.
Yeah.
They've taken her from like what the equivalent of CNN or ABC and given her own podcast where she's screaming. And I saw people saying that the arm things that they had to wear to control their minds is meant to be a thing similar to people making like all sorts of correlations to COVID and that.
Oh, of course they are.
And that Trinity Wells is supposed to be an anti-vaxxer.
Well, no, that was the kind of point, wasn't it? Because when I've just looked it up on Google, so obviously she's on the Trinity Wells show. But the whole point, it says, this is on, bearing in mind, this is the TARDIS Wiki. By 2020, Wells had left her job as a newsreader. In 2023, she had her own program entitled the Trinity Wells Show. Whilst under the influence of the Toymaker signal, she described Unit ZDEX bands as asserting that devices could be used to control, monitor, and microwave the brains of the population. Now, obviously, it's clearly meant to be a COVID, a dig at COVID. But at the same time, it's kind of like, it's kind of reassuring to know that that's not who she actually is. She's doing that under the Toymaker's influence, but at the same time,
it's a very good comment. It's a comment on people.
It's a good comment on society, but it's also, it actually develops her character, because obviously we saw Kate take off her ZDEX, and we saw her thoughts bubbling to the surface of would be. And I liked it because it showed you that the Toymaker really is just, the Toymaker isn't making humanity horrible. He's manipulating all of that's already in them, and that's what makes it so good, is that you had people like Trinity Wells is a fantastic character. You'd seen her growing up and, going through all of this, and you think, oh, why have they made her horrible? And it's like,
speaking of which, of course, you have
media.
The Boris Johnson like cameo.
Yes, of course, yes.
I loved Donna's just kind of nothing changes.
Yeah, nothing changed there. I've
seen a lot of people comment on how Kate was when that ZDEC thing was taken off, and saying that's considering that she's the daughter of the Brigadier, is she talking from a place of what her inner thoughts are telling her? In that case, people have been calling her ableist.
It is. I can see where that comment comes from. I think like quite a few things that Russell's done, I don't think that was the way it was intended by any means. But I think it's obviously,
if anything, it was paranoia. I thought.
Yes, exactly. That's what it is. It's when you look at things like that, the fact that the first thing she does is attack the Doctor about saying that she can't trust him. Then she says on about it. She's talking about how she can't trust people. So obviously, she's saying this to Shirley because it's a thing of mistrust. And obviously, yes, it comes across very ableist and things like that. And it's meant to be a horrible thing. But again, I think it's, as you say, it's her mistrust, because the whole point, she's head of unit. She's basically, let's be honest, she is the good version of, I can't remember the character's name, in series 2, the head of Torchwood. Before Jack took over. Yvonne. She's kind of like the good version of Yvonne, because all those, worries and panics about things are still there. But on the surface, she's more calm and collected. She doesn't let them out because she knows that, if anything, I think it's the conflicting sides. Her dad has taught her, the Briggs taught her, you must take action, you must protect, no matter what the cost. But the Doctor has taught her, you must always be willing to learn and accept another. And she's got that inner conflict between the two of them, because obviously they're both, let's be honest, they're both father figures to her.
And I've also seen as well a very interesting debate, which is that, and initially, and I have got a resolution for this, people saying that her reaction wasn't actually at all about people being right. The problem is, and my resolution to that is, it's why we had that random man run out in that road. Because the only reason he's thinking he's right is because it goes into the beliefs of, and you see this a lot with this particular age group, which is, I pay my taxes, I pay for this road, it must be mine. Because deep down, there is a little bit of that when in people, like, where, if, like for example, if you have people like, I'm trying to think of it. I know an example, but I can't seem to put it down.
You can't get it to. But yeah, no, but
it's like a little sense of entitlement. Going, I pay my, I do my job. I do all this.
Yes.
Why are we letting this happen? Like I'm a good person. Why am I like that sort of thing? You come every now and again. There's that little slip where you just kind of get annoyed, and when you're annoyed,
no, yes, actually, yes,
but will sometimes just slip in. It's not who you are. It's just in a state of anger. But
it's called. It does have a name. I can't remember what it's called, but it is like the subconscious mind where you will have these intrusive thoughts come in. It's like, why do I think that? That's really horrible. But it's just your brain just ticks over and it's just there. And you might not. Yeah. It doesn't necessarily mean that's who you are and what you're thinking.
No.
But it's just it's kind of like that. It's that thing I remember seeing. Like it was just to summarize. It's I think one of Alan Carr's sketches. He says you get to that age where you start looking at your parents and where you're in money trouble and you think if only they had an accident, you think that's a horrible thing, but it just that's the joke he said. It's like those sorts of things, but it's like
that's the thing. It's like that guy in the beginning of the episode are those intrusive bad thoughts amplified
made flesh,
but that's essentially also playing into probably that personality that he has, because from what I can see, he's running out of a pub, so I'm assuming he's a landlord. So I'm assuming he has to deal with a lot of people anyway. And then you're saying, oh, yeah, these people running this, I do my taxes, I do this, I do that. And, and he's obviously, like, when you put into the context there, whereas with Kate, who's all about trusting people, trusting people to save the world. And then she's like, well, I have to fight aliens and you're an alien. So that means that it's essentially like the whole Sixth Doctor going mad at Perry about being
she's got to put a lot of trust in people. So the fact that she's got to put that much trust, of course, there's going to be a huge amount of, it's a balance. There's going to be, for the amount of trust she's got to put in, there's going to be a huge amount of mistrust sitting at the back of it.
It's clouding her judgment, essentially playing into paranoia. Because if you're in this job, what was it? I think, wasn't there something said? I swear there was a story said where Kate was involved about the fact that she is just always like this. She always has to be on edge. I don't know if it was a Big Finish story or not. That's the thing, because there was a story with Kate where she's saying that she's struggles to balance life. I think it might have been Big Finish, but she's not able to really slow down and stop. And this is a full-time job, and it's eating away at her.
Yeah.
This is a really good example of that, where her paranoia turns her against the Doctor and makes her think that a wheelchair user doesn't need the wheelchair because everyone could be lying to her because she's had so many betrayals and all this stuff. It's really interesting to have a look at.
I mean, you got to bear in mind as well. I'm just thinking, actually, you could argue as well that whole mistrust also goes back potentially to the whole Zygon thing, because if she's aware there are Zygons on Earth, she doesn't know who's a Zygon, who isn't, who she can.
And also the whole Osgood thing. Not that we know what's going on with that now.
No, I know, but that's what I mean. It's a classic example of showing that Kate knows all this stuff is going on, but at any given point, I mean, she knows for a fact there are aliens on Earth disguised as humans, but she doesn't know who they are. So for all she anybody she could be employing at UNIT could be a sleeper agent or double agent or something.
And also regarding the whole Osgood thing, I just suddenly thought I like to think she's downstairs in the scientific sector.
Yeah.
That's probably where she is, because it's now branched out. I think because people were really upset that Osgood didn't appear.
Yeah.
I think she's there. She's just probably the lead researcher somewhere. Yeah. She probably just got promoted.
Well, they're all down there, like Malcolm, Osgood, all of
that. I tell you what, Malcolm and Osgood. That is a Doctor Who sitcom waiting to happen.
Yeah, now I feel like Lee Evans not showing up in the special was like
even just as a voiceover,
just to go, Doctor,
I love you.
I love you. That's it. He just walks out again.
Speaking of cameos, Oh wait, no, I'll let you continue.
No, okay. I was going to change the subject, but go on.
No, just the one cameo I was like that I didn't expect to love as much, but I did was seeing Mel.
I was going to go into that.
Yes.
I'm so happy she's coming back in the long run.
I like the fact there wasn't a massive fanfare behind it, and all this sort of stuff. It was just she was just there, and
she's there. Hello, here's Mel.
Big reunion, and she wasn't there just to be a cameo. There was use. Like
Yeah.
I think I saw someone say, I think it might have actually been Bonnie Langford herself going, she's a computer programmer, and she's finally in front of a computer.
Yeah.
She actually has a job in front of a computer. Like she's working for Unit now.
She had that, and then she was supportive for the Doctor and for what she thought was 14's last moments.
Yeah.
And very supportive of the next incarnation's
Don't say
appearance.
But I love the fact that, just to skip ahead slightly, when the obviously regeneration scene happens, I like that you got the parallels of they're each pulling with the Doctor they sort of going to end up with. Was a really nice sort of way of doing it as well.
Because there's behind the scenes filming that we've seen, haven't we?
With Mel and Shooty on the scooter,
yeah. Because that's nice.
I can't wait for more scenes with 15 and Mel.
Can we also just raise a metaphorical glass as well to, I think, genuinely it was the best. I can't think of a better death for Sabalon Glitz than tripping over a whiskey bottle at aged 101. To Sabalon Glitz, people.
I loved it. I don't know if anyone saw that, but
I saw it. The listeners won't have seen it, but
for those who cannot see on Aidan's camera, he raised his mug and it came up with a thumbs down for some reason. So
an Apple feature.
But no, I love the fact that they got a reference into Glitz, and obviously we got also skipping ahead. Sorry, we got some fantastic reference. Obviously we got where they actually acknowledge that Sarah Jane has gone within the universe as well. I thought that was there was lots of people they could have mentioned, and some of them were a bit odd. The fact that
Sarah Jane who got mentioned.
Yeah, they had some odd choices, but like I said, Mavic Chen for some reason was in there. But
Mavic Chen was I'm appreciative, but
yes. Given it's a slightly divisive one,
I think somebody said that Mavic Chen was sort of like something where it was like a universe like affecting situation that he was involved with.
It was its master plan. It was
it could be on the level of like the Flux or the Time War, in the sense that all of history was threatened again by the Daleks. But honestly, the one thing I did love about how 14 spoke to me is I was like, we felt like there was more like not to sort of like whatever about a classic companion, but I like that we're finding out more about what happens to them afterwards. Like with Sarah Jane, I like the fact that it was Russell who acknowledged it, because he wrote the Sarah Jane Adventures, and it felt like a fitting way to send that off. With Mel, he's really dived into the fact that, like, guys, she left Earth. Like, there's like literally everything she left.
That's the thing. Yeah, she obviously, we've seen her in like those little. Are the little things they filmed for the special DVD trailers? Are they canon? I've heard people kind of.
I think they are. They're sort of. They're debatable canon, isn't it? Because it's weird.
Well, technically, it's canon now if you go by the by generated 7.
This is true. Yes,
it's technically canon, but I like the fact that, as well as that, this companion here, there's no real massive emotional baggage behind this companion for the Doctor. It's not like the Doctor failed Mel. Mel chose to go and
she chose to leave. She was like, there's
like,
so much out there, I'm gonna go and see it.
He obviously feels bad for her when she talks about what she did. She went, we went out and did this and that, and then he died, and then I came back here, and then all my family were dead. And he's just like, oh.
Yeah.
And but like, it's not his fault.
Yeah,
it's a nice thing for the Doctor not to have to feel guilty about a previous companion for once. Obviously, well, we're going to get into it, but that gets all the companions he's lost, are certainly in the new era, get referenced with the toy maker.
I like the little throwaway line of how did you get back to Earth? I got a lift off a Zingo. What's a Zingo? It's the thing you get a lift off, obviously. It's like, duh.
Obviously, we should also say as well, we got another so obviously some good we got some good other cameos. Obviously, we got he wasn't in it, sadly, but we did get a lovely clip of Bernard from the Sontaran episode saying, you need to go with the Doctor. And also, of course, so brace yourselves, lads, because we're going to be here for a minute. We got lovely cameos from, obviously, Michael Gough and Mr. William Hartnell.
Off you go, Chadders.
Yeah. Well, I watched these clips on YouTube before the actual airing of the episode. The problem is, and it's ever so slightly a problem, it hyped me up a bit too much.
You thought they were going to be in it more?
No, it's just a case of because of basically there's a certain way. This is me getting very Hartnell fanboy.
Go right ahead.
The way the Toymaker waves in that clip is how he waved to the first Doctor. It's the same wave. And it's another clue into how 14 begins to figure it out. The puppet master, he talks about it, that little wave. I was a very happy boy. And of course, they did the Daleks in colour. So it was really nice to see that, they were able to do this. Because there were some clips from the original Toymaker story in that little Hartnell era trailer they made at the end of the Daleks in colour. I was really happy that we got some nice little cameos there. Obviously, they're not specific in saying, because obviously there are some expanded media appearances with the Toymaker. I'm glad that they don't say, I haven't seen you since this Doctor. They just specify this was our first meeting.
Yes, that's the thing I think a lot of people grasped onto. That I've seen some people saying like, "Oh, they've completely written off Big Finish" and things like that. It's like, well, they haven't, have they? Because if you really read the way they wrote it, they acknowledged the first meeting. They didn't acknowledge the subsequent ones. However, it doesn't necessarily say that, because you could debate saying, they had their best of 3. Well, technically, from memory serves, you could debate that a lot of the Big Finish games never got finished. So that is they're still on 2.
It was a very, well, I guess we've completely fully moved on to the Toymaker anyway.
Well, yeah.
It was a very clever way of using that to move into the new Doctor as well. Because it wasn't even the Toymaker just deciding to do it. He's someone who obeys the laws of the game. And it was 14 who laid out the rules of the game there, saying, I did this then, and now this me is doing this now. So by the next game, it can't be me. I like the fact that it's very specific, and it has very... like all the little conversations they had about the Toymaker, they've done with the first Doctor already. Like when Stephen would say to one, he's going to cheat it, and then Hartnell would just be like, no, no, he obeys the laws of the game. It's what he lives for. I also, because there's a lot of canon about this, I'm very glad they mentioned the Guardians of Time in the story.
They did, yes, they did. Of course, they did.
Because they talked about order and chaos and play, which means that they technically connected. So that leans into the Crystal Guardian theory a little bit. It doesn't confirm anything, but the fact he goes order and chaos, which are the white and black Guardians, and then says, and then there's play, implies a connection, but doesn't say that there is a connection, which I was very, very pleased with.
Now, I'm on the TARDIS wiki, as I'd like to do on these, and looking up things, and there is another uncredited archive voice that I didn't spot in this. I'm going to have to go back and look. Anthony Ainley. Because obviously we're going to get on to now the whole master thing, but apparently people have looked into it. So at the end, when the gold tooth is picked up by mysterious hand, we do hear John Sim, Sacha Dhawan, Michelle Gomez, and apparently Anthony Ainley is there in the mix. I couldn't hear him, but he is in there.
The one that I definitely
he's
picked
the one
out.
who starts laughing at the beginning, a little chuckle, and then he's when he sort of starts off with a little.
He's always very subtle. That's why it's difficult to hear at times.
The most standout one.
Yeah, but then it goes into
Missy.
Sim immediately.
Yeah. The one that's easiest to pick out is Missy. I remember exactly which laugh it is. It's from The Magician's Apprentice, when she's just used the vortex manipulator to find the Doctor, and she's like, "Oh, Mummy, do it again!"
Yeah, but that's the thing. What I like is the fact that the Toymaker, because we never, and it's something that a lot of people thought was a really unnecessary line, but I'm like, guys, we never know how the Master survives.
No, that's the point.
They've just given us an out. They've actually given an answer, which is, in the last moments, for you imagine Sacha Dhawan in those last moments, as 13 is being carried off to the TARDIS.
Yeah,
the Toymaker has appeared to him, giving him one
bargains with the Toymaker.
You can imagine it's Rasputin, Master, sat playing a game, and he's lost the game,
And then he got sealed for eternity inside his gold tooth.
Mm.
He isn't dead. He lives in the gold tooth. That was his punishment for losing.
Yeah. But like I like the fact that you've given like they've given an out for that. And a lot of people were moaning about Russellisms or RTD1-isms, like the tooth being left behind and the hand picking it up. We may never see who that was, and the master might just reappear again.
No.
Like, there you go then. Like it's just saying that the master is out there.
Yeah.
Like it's showing you that the master is not with the toy maker. The master's back here again and can be released again.
But it's also why because a lot of people were saying about, it's like the master, they were saying like the master's probably the one who waits. It's like, well, we know they're not. And a lot of people are turning around and going, well, it could have been Missy picking it up. And it's like, well, you could, but that seems a bit too obvious.
People seem to think it's Kate because Kate was wearing red nail.
Now, I did a tweet on this recently, actually. So it cannot be Kate. Well, obviously, people are going to debate this. It can't be Kate because when she walks off the helipad and you see as Donna and the 15th Doctor are walking towards the 14th Doctor, you can see Kate walking back into the building. Eventually, in that process, it cuts to a wide shot and you can see that there is no one else on the helipad. So unless she is hiding behind the gun as they walk off, it can't be Kate. Obviously, people are going to debate that, saying, well, she could have come back or something like that. But my theory on that is that whoever picks up the tooth is the one who waits. And obviously, we see the tooth glint before the hand picks it up. So my working theory so far is that they are someone who is perhaps existing outside of time, perhaps in the Toymaker's dimension. The glint is a portal opening. They pick up the tooth and then they go away. That's my working theory.
What was it we were saying was hopefully going to be the villain for the Devil's Cord?
Yes.
Jinx, is it?
Jinx Monsoon's
Jinx
character.
Monsoon.
Well, I thought possibly her. She's got red nail polish.
That is what I think, because when you look at the pictures of her in her outfit, they're red with silver tips. But even so, it would make most sense to be her, I think.
The only thing I asked then is if she's going to be in episode 2 of series 15, and everyone's gone, you're not going to see the Master for years. I'm like, aren't we?
But see, this is why I think we will eventually see the Master. It might not be for years, but we will eventually see the Master, because I think the one who waits it's kind of in the name. I think the one who waits is going to be one of those things that is going to be an overall arc for the entirety of Russell's coming era.
Yeah,
and it's going to be like
all the old gods returning and stuff.
It's going to be like Torchwood. It's going to be surreptitiously put into the episodes bit by bit. And the whole point, it's the one who waits, because it could be many, many years before we find out. And the Master will return as one of their pawns, as it were. They won't be the actual villain. They will be a sub-villain to the one who waits, which is why I think they've called them the one who waits, because we're going to have to wait. They are waiting for the right moment to find out.
Another thing that's quite interesting is when the trailer for the 60th came out, and you hear Donna saying, "Who is he?" and you hear the one who waits.
Yeah.
The Doctor. What's interesting is the first Doctor, called the Toymaker that. So I always thought that was a nice reference to talking about the Toymaker, and then they're using it to describe someone else, and I'm like, well, that's interesting, because they're saying it essentially the Toymaker used to be called that, and now there's someone beyond the Toymaker who's taken that kind of title.
Or is there? Run with me on this. The one person the Toymaker would never play a game with, because obviously himself. So what if it is the Toymaker? I'm just off the top of my head thinking there, but that would make very interesting. I don't know how, but the nice thing is, that could work, because they never explained why the Toymaker looks different. However, he does mention that line of saying, this is just a visage. Basically saying, I can look however I want. So that red hat, the nail polished hand, that could well be the Toymaker.
Yeah.
I mean,
and we know which incarnation of the Toymaker, don't we? TT Productions. I know, because the nail polish would be blue.
Yeah, that's true.
We have to go and do a TT edit of that scene.
I think we organised which one would be Chelsea's Toymaker's song. I said it would be Madonna's "Hung Up."
Yeah.
But I think she found another one. What one was it? I can't remember, but it was a good one. And she was like, "No, that'll be it." Because I thought because of the beginning of the song with all the clocks and everything, she's gone for Gwen Stefani's "What You Waiting For."
I like it. I like it. Good choice.
Yeah.
I think someone said to me that, like, or not to me, but I saw on Twitter that there was like somebody said that the One Weeks could. No, this is an out there one because I think it's more the fact of he's one of the only ones who hasn't come back along with the Guardians and stuff. Is Omega, and I just went,
Yeah,
that is true.
I'm like, well, yes, Omega is obviously in the antimatter universe now. We and the way he's kind of built up in the classic era is kind of a little bit godlike. It's also, I don't know, like would like the toy. I feel like the toy maker could have had would have made it, would have had an easier go with him than than someone who's above him. So I don't know. But then the other thing that got me was how, like, and go with me on this one, guys. How the toy maker essentially makes it that you don't really have to care much about the canon anymore.
Yeah.
Where he goes, I made a jigsaw out of your history. Did you like it?
yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, because the Doctor has been this like entity from outside the universe, has been half human on his mother's side, has been born of the House of Lungbarrow, and hinted at being the other. Like, it's canon is out the fucking window at this point, mate. It's been 60 years.
Yeah.
Well, but the thing is,
it means in a way you can choose the story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter.
Anyway, I've just
All
realized
are as equally true and untrue as the others.
I've just realized it can't be Omega because he's still appearing in Timequake, don't you know?
Oh,
yeah, come on, guys.
No, it can't be. They can't be. Come on, he's committed to being in Timequake.
Just in time for the 70th.
Yeah, no, 100th, surely 100th.
Oh no, that's true. It's got to be the 100th, surely. Yeah.
But on the note, I was going to say that the thing is about the canon sort of being all over the place now. Obviously, the whole point now is that we've had both between what we've seen on screen and Russell's revelations, admissions, is obviously every potential alternate timeline is now possible because of the bi generation. So we should get on to that. Now that was I absolutely loved that idea. I thought it was brilliant, and at the end of the day, it doesn't really change the regeneration process as such, because all it is the old Doctor gets overwritten by the new one. All that's happened this time is the new ones come in. Yeah, the old one still exists. But it also dawned on me that when you consider from an actual genuine real life scientific perspective of things like parthenogenesis and splitting, it's actually probably one of the first times we've got a regeneration that's scientifically accurate.
Yeah.
True. It's, in the sense of like growing another limb type.
Yeah. As in like life splitting and merging and whatnot and things like that.
True.
Yeah.
True.
But it's now just a case of they have the same past, but they have different futures.
Yes.
Yeah. I will say the one thing about that scene that I really like, just before we obviously build up, I want to kind of help us build up the shooty before we start talking about it. Is that what the scene, I won't lie, it was a shock when he got shot, when 14 got shot with a laser, because I wasn't
expecting it. That's not how I was expecting him to go. That was a surprise.
I'm glad it was the toy maker.
Yeah. And just the way, and I think regardless of the outcome, obviously, I do think that scene he had was very lovely, because he just, he thought he was going to go. This was a kind of, it was a thing.
I like the fact he was accepting of it.
Exactly.
Even though it wasn't something that, it wasn't like grandiose and heroic like other Doctors. He was shot mid-speech. It was quite a sad ending. But it's the fact that he took it in grace, and it's a really nice contrast to 10, when 10 was like, I don't want to go, but 14 immediately goes, it's time.
Yeah.
Even though 14 is better than 10.
Also, did anyone notice the little Ninth Doctor hologram team that they slipped in for that regeneration?
Listened to it. I think I need to listen to it isolated.
Yeah. I've got an isolated one, but it's honestly, when you listen to it back, you're like, I like this, because they're giving him the team to the Doctor who was actually very accepting of his regeneration and wanting to go, and it was just, I don't know, it was just beautiful. It just felt like thank God we're here. Like where the doctor is like, it's okay to regenerate. It's fine.
Oh no, yeah, I love Nine's regeneration so much because he's so like cheery about it. Because he's like he's come from such a bad time from being the War Doctor, and now he's like, right, I've been in this place where I just sort of hate myself. I've even I've taken on the name of the Doctor, but sort of, you know, sort of like apprehensively. Now I'm ready to move on to whatever the future holds in this new life, and it's like a fresh start.
Yeah.
And I'm ready for it.
One thing I will say quickly about the bi-generation, because a lot of people were saying, and to me, and I've not got an issue with bi-generation. I just don't like, for me, how it happened without explanation and then was explained after it had happened rather than built up to in some way. But then somebody pointed out something on Twitter, which I thought, that's interesting. They said, just realised that 14 doing the salt trick is what allowed the bi-generation to take place, because it allowed and legend deep into
good point. Very good point.
And I'm like,
he invoked a superstition at the edge of the universe.
Something though, rather than going, oh, it's random, it could have happened at any point. 14 going, the salt at the edge of the universe, and Donna's like, myths, and someone goes, yeah, I've made this happen to myself. You know, it would have then gone.
That would have been really good.
The toy maker was here.
That's how the toy maker got in because of that.
Yeah, exactly.
It has made myths real, and in this case, luckily, it has made this myth a reality.
He like 14 invokes the myth, thus the myth gets applied to him for this regeneration.
I like that. That's really good.
But also, I heard as well, another good theory I've heard is that, because it's something we've spoken about before in the Star Beast and with the Wild Blue Yonder review, is that this Doctor has not stopped, and I've heard it's apparently it's also led into being that the Doctor's just got that much trauma that the Doctor could not survive another one, so they split so that one could deal with it and move forward, and
the next one can move on.
Yeah, but I've also heard another one that it's a bi-generation, but it's not two separate people. That 14 will go on to live a long life and then regenerate, but wake up splitting from 14 in the Giggle.
Yeah. Now, on that note, obviously, this is where I want to get into. Obviously, there have been some theories about this. One of which is that the retired 14th Doctor goes on to become the curator.
Yes.
Which initially I really liked as an idea. But the more I thought about it, the more I realized it doesn't. The whole point of the curator is that he is Doctor Eternal. He is meant to be the Doctor at the end of his life, basically saying, "I will always exist." Yeah. If the 14th Doctor becomes the curator, lives that life, and then becomes the 15th Doctor, it kind of ruins the concept of the curator.
I wouldn't see it. It's one or the other for me.
So I think my theory about what's going to happen is we are going to see the 14th Doctor again. Because obviously we've seen that he's retired, he's living his, he's having his little life with his family, but he's also obviously taking them on little pleasure jaunts, nothing dangerous. Yeah. But I think it's going to get to a point where he will come back, and what will happen is he will have the moment where he'll go, "I'm ready to go now," or something along those lines. And the 14th Doctor and his TARDIS are going to re-merge with the 15th Doctor and the TARDIS. And they are going to become one Doctor again, if you see what I mean. Yeah. Because then the curator is still always in the future. But it makes sense that they at some point they are going to come back together. And at that point as well, it means that the 15th Doctor can then potentially regain all of the memories, if he doesn't have them already, from the 14th Doctor with the family. But as the 15th Doctor says, we're doing rehab out of order. So he's already implied that the 14th Doctor is eventually going to become him. Yeah. So the idea of the 14th Doctor becoming the curator, whilst a lovely idea, I don't think stands up particularly.
It would be nice. And a lot of people have, the thing is, and I think that's what's kind of nice, is that there's no definitive answer, which means, again,
I love that. I absolutely love that.
There are some people who like the idea of it going on to be the curator, but then there are some lines of dialogue which imply that 15 has already gone on the journey that 14 is about to embark on and heal. Because what's nice and refreshing is, and I think this is what, in the end, was a really nice theme for the 60s. Now that it's finished and we can look back on it, I think what you can see is, after 60 years of time and space, obviously a lot longer for the Doctor, they're tired.
Yeah.
So ultimately, it was a lovely way to refresh the show. Obviously, I think by this point, we're getting on for nearly the show being back for nearly as long as it was existing in the classic era. It's a nice way. It's like a few years off, isn't it?
I think it was 26 years initially, wasn't it? The classic series. So
but we're not far off either way. Like we're
No.
going for 20 years and from then on, but it needed a refresh, which is
Yeah.
why I think they've gone back to calling it Series 1. I thought we'll call it Series 14.
I'll call it Series. Yeah.
It was a nice way to kind of show and give and refresh the character by not saying the Doctor has a definitive past anymore, by clearing all the trauma from previous Doctors' lives, and now completely hitting the reset button. They can remember what happened, they can still reference what happened, but it's not like what they use with the Flux in Wild Blue Yonder. They can move forward, and I think that's a really good thing for the show to do, because the 50th did it with the Gallifrey. Instead of running away, they ran to Gallifrey. That lasted long, but nonetheless, now, but now they can do that with the character and have the character live.
Yeah,
but with that new energy.
Sorry, go on, Aidan.
Oh no, I was just going to say that you even see that in one of the scenes where they're reflecting on their life, where they both were 14 and 15 say Adric. People have said 14 says it in more of like as a burden, as something that 15 says it more as Adric,
as a memory.
Yeah, and not, a memory of this is a person I knew who was we cared about him. It's just
And you have that wonderful scene on them with a helipad as well, where they're stood at the edge, and you could see that the whole point is that the 14th Doctor is still he's literally there looking over the city, saying so many people have died.
Yeah,
and you just see 15 come up to him, hug him, give him a kiss, and he's like, "I've got you," as in he's saying,
"I'm here."
Yeah, it's the beautiful thing. I think they kind of did it in the 50th with the 11th Doctor. Where the War Doctor says, "Did you ever count how many?" And the 11th Doctor goes, "No, I didn't." And then it's revealed he did, because the 10th Doctor did. But you see the 10th Doctor getting really angry, and the 11th Doctor gets angry in return. He's saying, "I have moved on," but obviously not in a positive way. He says it in a "you have got to let go." Whereas you had the contrast this time. You had the 14th Doctor literally comforting himself, saying, "Look, you're going to be okay, and I tell you that because I'm you. I'm okay, so you're going to be okay." And it's what I love is you really sort of get into the idea that you've got the 14th Doctor. He can't go on. That's the whole point. He physically and mentally can't go on. And it's kind of, the only bit of that as well that I think would have been quite a nice little callback, especially given that we got the toy maker, is when they were in the TARDIS. It might have been a bit flippant and spoilt the emotionalness of the scene. But when they talk about how he's, they talk about how he looks tired and exhausted. I just wish they'd gotten in there of the 15th Doctor going, "You're wearing a little bit thin there, mate." It would have. That would have been a great little extra thing they could have just put in there. But that's but it would have worked for that reason. You've got the toy maker back. It speaks to the scene, and it's just a nice,
and also kind of a callback to John Hurt, who was in the 50th, which in turn was a callback to Hartnell.
Exactly. I think it would have been a really nice little extra.
There's a through line as well.
Yeah.
What's kind of nice is that the 50th and the 60th have all kind of lined up about the character of the Doctor.
Yeah.
Yes.
The 50th was about a Doctor who fought in the Time War, finally exploring that and discovering that old self again. Whereas this one was just about that as well, but it was about clearing the baggage that comes with it, like the history that comes with it, letting go of, I know they mentioned the Time War there. For them, this has also been a point of contention for people when 14 goes, "Donna, I'm a billion years old." Everyone's like, "I thought those didn't count," from heaven's sake. But I think it's more of a.
It was an exaggeration.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm all over the place, is what he's trying to say. But I think it goes to show as well, because you say that since 10, things have been manic for him.
Yeah.
It makes sense that 14's face comes back and he looks older. He's got more 5 o'clock shadow. His costume is still a variant of what once was, but broken down a bit. It's not a suit underneath, it's a waistcoat. It's the long coat's a little bit different, that sort of thing. It's like
it's kind of like he hasn't had the time to stop and dress properly, but in a non-comment, it's in like he hasn't been able to stop and do things. But even
it's almost like a kind of saying on how that Doctor, like you can look, if you look at how 10 was at the beginning of his life and you look at how 14 looks, it's a nice way of really explaining to the audience, especially the casual viewer, because us fans, we follow it very easily, but like for the casual viewer to really show and put across how much the Doctor is tired by bringing back 10 essentially as 14, to really show he's still the Doctor. But look at how, like, I suppose the Harriet Jones thing. Don't you think he looks tired?
Yeah.
Because he is.
But there's also the thing where you said about, he makes the comment about being a billion years old. It does seem slightly flippant of him to say, because obviously he doesn't, he's not. If you could turn around and go, well, I thought those years from, Hellbent didn't count. But is it possible he's not referencing that? He's not saying I am a billion. He's saying I could be. I don't know who I. The whole point is he starts by saying I don't know who I am anymore. So it could be that the whole timeless child thing is that the whole point of this is he's more tired than he thinks, because suddenly he's got this burden of potentially billions of years of memories that he doesn't know, and he thinks, how long have I actually been going for? And it's kind of that classic thing of in theory. And you could draw so many parallels and headcanon ideas from that sort of statement. But it really does. It doesn't matter. The point is, it doesn't matter whether he's over 2,000 years old or whether he's a billion years old. The point is, he hasn't stopped in all that time. It doesn't. The amount of time is irrelevant. It's the fact that he's never stopped.
Yeah,
I mean that's the thing as well. Where like we're there in the toy makers realm, and like Donna is like, oh, you always say, and he's like, what do I always say? Like, oh, I got my TARDIS, take away the TARDIS, take away the Sonic, take away the toys. What am I? And I'm like, shit. He's like, in that, like, throughout the episode, you really get the sense that he's worn out. That he's just
there's a sense of irony about it as well, because I don't want to delve too far into it, but like that's exactly what happens to the Doctor in the 11th hour. The Sonic goes up, and he doesn't have a TARDIS, but he still saves the day. But it goes to show how tired he is, because he's relying on them now. His ability to strive forward is gone. He needs those little tools now, which in turn, obviously, people say make the character boring, but that's the point. Is that he's tired. He hasn't got the energy anymore.
Yeah. He is bored. That's
Yeah. But it was really nice at the end when he said, "This is the happiest I've ever been."
Yeah,
it was nice to see Tennant's Doctor, whichever one it is, saying that, because the 10 is filled with loss and pain.
Yeah,
it only went over into Moffat's era more. 13 was a bit different, because she didn't lose any companions, but she lost everything she ever knew.
Yeah,
the pain was there in undertones, like mass, and it's like 14 is like all those undertones finally coming to the surface.
Yeah,
it was a nice way of, especially with dealing with, because a lot of people were annoyed that Flux and the Timeless Child got mentioned. It's a good old identity crisis story for our main character, who we've known for 60 years and has always known, I'm the Doctor, I just run away. And now all of a sudden they're not a Time Lord, or they may be, or what are they? And did they run away? Were they always destined to run away? Is that because in their mind they knew about the division, really? Or is it because they actually just wanted to explore the universe? Or were they always running? Like, because there's so many different backstories now. Obviously, 12 has said, I left Gallifrey because I wanted to find out what the hybrid was. Then one says, in that same era, I wanted to find out the difference between good and evil. And now it could be subconscious memories of the division. It could, that's the whole point of canon. But that's why it works well as an identity crisis. And obviously, that's why it helps clear up all the continuity points.
I've just thought, is there also, I could be making this up completely, but when you said about the 10th Doctor mentions, the 10th Doctor, 14th Doctor mentions, this is the happiest I've ever been. In the back of my mind, I've got no idea what episode it's from. This could be a Mandela effect. I'm making this up. is there not a point when the 10th Doctor is in one of his episodes, he's discussing a normal life, and he says that's the one life I can never have? Is that the 10th Doctor, or is that somebody else?
He says
Think
that to
so,
Rose,
yeah.
and
That is to Rose, isn't it?
in fact, it mirrors that, because in the scene with
That's what
Doctor
I'm saying.
talking, she
Yeah.
goes, "This is the one adventure that you can now have."
Yes.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure it was in the back of my head somewhere. I was like, did he say that, or am I misremembering
Yes, he
that?
says,
School
he
reunion,
says
isn't
it to
it?
Rose on the beach,
Is it
going,
school
"Living your
reunion?
life day after day,
Oh,
an adventure
yeah.
I could never have."
Yes.
And Donna says, "Now you can stop.
Yeah.
That have a brand new adventure."
Mm.
The thing
Yeah.
that I love about the whole oh, this is the happiest I've ever been thing, it then hard cuts to Shooty in the this is where I'm gonna start properly blowing my load
We
about
can do that
Shooty.
now. We have talked a lot about 14.
Yes.
Let's talk about
I've been
so
sat
good.
here waiting, and now I
Yeah.
can
vibrating.
blow my load about Shooty. It hard cuts to him in the TARDIS, grin on his face.
So happy, yeah.
At his point in life, he's done all that healing, and now he can go off into the universe, sail off into time and space, and be like, I'm ready. I'm ready to tackle
But
everything.
also, he's content being by himself.
Yes.
At
Yes.
that moment, he's not going, "Oh, I've lost a friend."
Yeah.
He said goodbye to Donna happily.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
I love that thing where he's just
He's
like,
if
"I
you
love
don't
you
mind,
all."
I've got a whole universe out there calling, and I've got to get going. And then he's
And
like, I love
I've
you.
never seen it.
I love the fact that he goes, "I love you, get out."
Get out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you,
And then,
honestly, I
then
love the
flips
flick.
that switch on the console. Time Rose starts moving in.
Did you like the lighting on the rotor as it went up and down? It was a little bit
Yes.
different. The green.
So good.
Yeah.
That set is. I know we talked about it previously, but that set is just. It's going to suit
Gorgeous.
his Doctor so well, because I just feel like, even just from the trailers we've seen, we've obviously seen the trailer for the Church on Ruby Road where he's in the club and things like that. But just from that,
I'm going to get to that.
all of his different outfits, it just feels like what I love about that TARDIS, the new TARDIS, is it's completely white. It looks fantastic, but all the lights, it really is a complete blank canvas to reflect whatever the Doctor is doing. And it's going to be one of those things that I really hope that they keep that for a long time.
Because I wasn't a fan of the TARDIS initially. I liked the space. I just wish I did more with it. The moment the jukebox was in, I was fine.
Yeah.
And that the change of lighting, it changes the whole atmosphere of that place. I hope that they include more. I think we said this the night of transmission after watching it, but we said about how it was ironic how he criticised TARDIS for not having a chair, but yet when he got his and with the jukebox,
Doesn't have a chair in it.
Yeah, still no chair.
Yeah.
I'm hoping there's a sofa in it. I feel
But to be fair, he said the one thing you need in here is a chair. He was saying that to 14 because 14 is so worn out, but he is now so youthful and full of life. He doesn't need it. He's got the jukebox in there, but now he can run about that console like it's so good. Oh, I love him.
Did you like the way as well that the jukebox is the same one that Cassandra played Tainted Love on in End of the World?
Yeah.
Yes.
I watched see from recently, I swear to God, this is just a really old jukebox problem because I swear it's in Hellbent as well in the diner. I swear it's the same one. Just looking at it in the background.
It's not the same. It isn't the. I can tell you this. So, a bit of background for those listening. So, my dad he's retired now, but he used to do jukeboxes, fruit machines, pool tables, things like that. And when it was still there, we went to the one in Cardiff, to Ed's Diner where they used to have that one. It is the same style. They are both Wurlitzers. It is not the same jukebox, but they are the same. They are the same style. Although he seems to be also under the apprehension that it's possibly that he hasn't seen a good enough. In his words, I'd need to see a better look of it, but it's possible the one in the TARDIS may be a Roamy. That's how seriously he takes things. He knows. So I'm sure he could probably give Sutton a run for his money.
Yeah.
So he might not know about sonic screwdrivers, but you show my dad a jukebox and he can tell you what it is.
Also, mate, I love how I show my dad this scene today, the boy regeneration. Now he was surprised. He was like, it was like, oh, the build up to regeneration. He hadn't really seen a lot. He only seen a bit of the specials, but he was like, oh right. When he saw the split, he just went, whoa. I just started laughing, and he was just like, this guy just takes off. And I'm like, yeah, he just literally, because that's what it is. From the get-go, I love that Shooty is just immediate. There's no post-regeneration kind of thing, whatever. Just a click of the neck, and he's like, I'm in. Miff, Mel, what do you think?
I think you're beautiful.
It says a lot about
so do I, Mel.
It says a lot about his presence as well. The fact that you look away from David Tennant.
Yeah.
Like, I mean,
that's
that
you need to be a good ass actor.
Yeah, but he has such a presence when he arrives that you're just like, you're no longer looking at 14. You're like, this guy is completely...
I mean, it's as soon as they split, Shooty is the leading man now.
Yeah,
because I mean, they've got the whole thing of like, he's like, don't just stand there, push, and they start pushing. David's like, does this work? He's like, I don't know.
Yeah, he's leading the charge. It's nice that they all come together in the end to beat the Toymaker, but in the end, 15 is the one who consoles the characters after.
And also, 15 is the one that throws that has the final throw that beats him.
Yeah.
Also, can we just like give like credit to the fact that there's new Shooty as the Doctor in his first ever real fight against an enemy, won it in his pants.
Yes.
Yeah.
In his pants.
And if you think about it, they both won together with 14 going commando.
Yes, exactly. But something else has just occurred to me as well. Actually, when you said about he doesn't have any post regeneration trauma. He literally just cracks his egg, things like that. It's a testament to the 15th Doctor. It shows how adjusted he is. Is the whole point of he's actually left his post regeneration trauma with the 14th Doctor, because he knows he's going to recover. So he hasn't got any post regeneration trauma because he's like, I'm here, I'm ready, I'm
ready to go.
Yeah.
I'm the Doctor now.
Because he's recovered. He's recovered from it. He doesn't need to have it.
We probably also had one of the most peaceful regenerations. Like being able to recover from the trauma.
That is true.
With a clean slate, memories of everything that's happened, but acceptance.
Yeah.
Well,
the thing about 15 consoling him as well. This is something that I really love. I was saying this on Twitter earlier. I was like, I love the fact that David may look older, but Shooty is the older, wiser Doctor, and he is the one consoling him. And there's the undertone of when he's hugging 14, he's like, I'm here, it's okay. And when he's like encouraging him to, settle down and recover, there's a whole undertone of him just being like, I've got this, I can handle it, I'm ready to go. And there's so many, he's not even had his first full episode yet, and there's so many things in this, just like the 20 minutes that he has in this episode as the Doctor, that is just selling me like, this man is the Doctor.
I mean,
he was born for this role.
He's got the presence. He's got the stage presence. He doesn't need to say a lot. He's just, you can see it.
I also thought a quick question about the behind the scenes element a little bit more now.
Yeah.
My thought was that the reason, obviously, the 60th was filmed with 14 was because Shooty was busy filming Sex Education.
Yeah.
But looking at the Doctor Who Unleashed, they filmed this in July 2022. So did they just happen to get him free between filming Sex Education? Because he obviously wasn't available for all three specials, but they got him available to be in more than I ever thought he'd be in.
Yeah.
Like they got him free for a full 20 minutes of filming, of big sequences.
Yeah.
But yet it always sort of came across like, I was like, so he was a bit free then?
Yeah.
Or did he just have gaps in filming? Because they were, I think,
possibly.
Don't they film Sex Education in the UK?
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
So he's nearby. He could just go. Are we filming? Oh yeah, you're not needed for a few days. All right, bye. Because he did say like he had to be kind of driven out. They said that they had to drive him there, and he didn't get the train. So he might have just been picked off from one set and driven to another.
Possibly. It would make sense.
Because there's like, what would you call it? Like, I don't know if they call them Teamsters in the UK, but it's sort of the same thing that happened to Michael J. Fox when he was filming Family Ties and Back to the Future. He'd literally be like, he'd go from one set to the next. He'd be literally thrown in the back of a car, have a snooze, read the script, onto the next set. There we go. But also, one thing I do love in the way he does, like the way Sumner, how you say he becomes the older doctor to kind of like motivating and talking to his younger self is, I'm better because you fixed yourself. I love that. The way he just is like, please, for the love of God, go and have this rest.
Settle down.
You know, I need to exist.
Does that confirm that he's definitely after 14?
In a way, I feel
it makes sense because he
be.
kind of just does make a point of saying, because again, it goes back to that thing if he says we're doing rehab out of order. It's sort of, it doesn't explicitly state it, but between that and saying I'm this because you fix yourself, it implies you are going to become me. But you know, I think because I think it's right after. Hang on,
it's like
it's really divided a lot of fans.
I suppose it comes that Donna says in the episode, he's younger because you came after him.
Yeah.
So they split apart, but she's still saying you're after him.
Because he literally says, I've found the line. It says, the 15th Doctor says, but you're fine. I'm fine because you fixed yourself. We're Time Lords. We're doing rehab out of order. And Donna says, he's saying you need to stop. So I would say it is. I mean, the fact that they've named him the 15th Doctor, it's kind of, I know that's, it doesn't necessarily mean anything, but it's kind of, I would say it implies that he is, unless they're going to sort of interject another war doctor in between them, because otherwise they're going to get to a point where they're going to have to say, actually, the 15th Doctor is the 17th Doctor, and they're going to suddenly have to retroactively do too much. I think it makes sense for him to follow on, because if the 15th Doctor doesn't follow on from the 14th, it kind of makes the whole retirement rehab thing slightly irrelevant, and I don't think Russell would do that, really.
No, and a lot of the arguments of people also saying that, Shuji's not a real doctor because it's just a copy that fell out. No, I think
he is the Doctor.
I think we have to assume from what's been said in the episode that 14 lives a long life, and then when generating, just goes boop, and then just appears out.
I'm 15 now.
That's what I mean. That's why like I said, I think they're going to sort of re-emerge at some point, and like I said, is not degenerate, but reintegrate. Is that?
I think what this could be described as is a really long regeneration process. So the process of changing. The change now is more of a mental thing. 14 needs to get to a better place to become where 15 is now in that mindset, and it's just going to take a while. And I like that now. Russell's like, look, I know you guys kind of don't want to sit through all that. You kind of want to have the fun, serialized adventures with the Doctor again. So here is 15. We could explore this at another time, but right now, here is the new Doctor to explore time and space with. And that's good.
Yeah,
and
right.
Sorry, go on.
I was going to say, so anything anyone else wants to mention about 15 before we talk about the trailer?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, it's less about 15 and more about just towards the end of the episode.
Okay.
It's just a moment that I've had on repeat in my head for so long. I just love the bit where he's hit the TARDIS, it's split off, there's a copy for 14, he gets an... And of course, it was explicitly stated by Russell in the video commentary, the one that 15 has is the original TARDIS. 14 gets the copy, 15 gets the original.
Yeah.
And I adore the scene where he gives a little chuckle, he steps into the box, and then you just hear the bum 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 ba-da-da-da-dum.
I also feel. So I was saying, because when we were talking about it after it came out, if you needed more proof that he's the Doctor, which Doctor left without trying to say goodbye?
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was him. He was like, my job's done, off I go. Classic Doctor Who.
But I have to say, this theme has to be my favourite Murray Gold Doctor theme.
Oh, wow.
I love it more than, because this one has been on repeat in my head for days.
See, I've been listening to the Toymaker theme a lot more.
Yeah, But I said this in the group chat last night. I was trying to get to sleep, and all that was going around in my head was fucking bam, 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 or fucking bam, 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 bam. I was like, it won't stop, and I don't want it to. I love it so much. I love him. Shooty, never leave. Never leave the show ever.
Speaking of which, Christmas special.
Yay! Finally back for a Christmas special.
The first Christmas special since Twice Upon a Time.
Yes.
I'm
so excited.
Thank you. It's back at Christmas.
I'm so excited.
Thank you, Russell.
And obviously, as of when we're recording this, the Goblin song came out today.
Yes.
So we've actually seen a little 2-minute clip as well of 15 and Ruby, even though it's very minor and not really, it's just them seeing the goblins. I think it looks really fun, and I love the anecdote that Russell gave about when he met his husband in 1998 in Manchester. And
it's the same way that 15 and Ruby are going to meet.
Would you also like to know a little fun fact as well?
Go on
then.
You know the nightclub they filmed in?
It's called Prism.
It's called Prism.
Yes.
But also, it's the same nightclub because we had a Cardiff trip at the beginning of this year.
Yeah,
it's the same nightclub they went to. Like, so when you look at all the videos of them clubbing, that's the nightclub where Shooty danced when Billy Gibson were there.
Oh, nice.
But like, I just thought, that's amusing. A lot of people have taken a lot of issue with, and I think it's going to be this is going to be how it is, because I think a lot of people who are bigots have been very critical of 15's personality already, but he just isn't playing up to anything. Like, he's clean slate, free to be who he wants. I think that's why there's no costume. He's not trying to play a role anymore. He's being himself, so he's able to go clubbing in a vest and a kilt, which everyone keeps calling a dress.
So everyone's like, why is he wearing a skirt? Why is he wearing a skirt? He's Rwandan Scottish. Yeah, it's a fucking kilt.
I love the fact that people are going on about that. Let's say, like, he's wearing it's a kilt. I'm going to call it a kilt. It's not a fucking skirt. It's a kilt.
It's not a skirt. It's a kilt.
He's wearing a kilt and a tank top, and then people are like, we never see the Doctor wearing that. It's like, we've seen the 3rd Doctor and the 11th Doctor naked in a shower, and the 10th Doctor naked in his TARDIS, the 11th Doctor naked in his TARDIS. We've seen more Doctors wearing less clothes than we have wearing kilts and tank tops. So I don't know why you're saying that this isn't like the Doctor.
Pan that camera down a bit, you would have seen John Pertwee's arse.
And also I've seen people turn around and say, "Oh, the Doctor wouldn't dance at a club." Have you seen him at the Drunk Giraffe? Have you forgotten about the Drunk Giraffe?
11 went and 11, I think, in Pond Life, went and recorded a rap song.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So it's,
and he's dancing and doing like the
how is it not in character?
It's just because Shooty's black and queer. They're like, no, the Doctor wouldn't do this.
Also, I'll bring it back to like one of the other Scottish doctors. Let's not forget, Peter Capaldi rolled up in Viking times on a fucking tank.
Yes, tank with an electric guitar.
I think what's going to catch Ruby's eye in that episode is how free and how carefree he is.
Yeah.
On the dance floor, everyone's that he is living his best life.
Yeah,
and that's what Ruby's smiling at.
I was going to say
everyone's dancing with each other. They're having a good time, but he is in the middle of the dance floor on his own, not a care in the world. Just fucking spinning around, dancing, having a great time. That's what she's drawn to.
I love that
this one guy in the middle of the floor, having the time of his life.
I also like the description that Millie Gibson gave for the 15 and Ruby's relationship, which is 2 sisters gossiping.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the clip from the trailer. Time travelers are great. It's like, wow.
But what I love is, sorry, Aidan.
Oh no, I was going to say that, like, I'm excited to hear like the kind of conversation they have at the club, because I love that bit where he just, like, he probably sees that, Ruby's looking at him and just goes up and goes, "Merry Christmas," and I just, like, I'm just like, those little moments. I'm like, come on.
But I
feel like that's gonna be their way of saying goodbye in that scene as well.
Yeah,
like, they're gonna be like, "Oh yeah, you're all right." And she goes, "Oh, I've got to go and meet my friends." "All right, Merry Christmas," and it's gonna be like.
Just drawing parallels again, you say, that their relationship is 2 sisters gossiping. Again, go and watch series 4. the conversations between the 10th Doctor and Donna, it's literally just two good friends, just back and forth like that. That's exactly what you're going to get with Millie and Shooty. That you've just got the Doctor, and that's what I love. Is I know for a fact, or I say no for a fact. I hope for a fact you are going to get finally again, and not that I've got any problem that they've done it before, but it's just been one of those tropes that's overused. I'm so glad that we're finally going to get a Doctor and companion where there's no kind of love interest thing. They're just going to be
not that kind of romantic love.
No, exactly. Yes,
it's more of a
so
platonic
happy
love.
that I
for each other.
really, yeah,
like
and I really
siblings,
hope
like-
that's how they keep it, because
Yes.
again, I have no problem with the Rose arc. Martha's was a little bit contrived and things like that, and Amy and Clara, and then that was all just crow. It's like, but Donna and the Doctor, I've always loved their relationship because it's kind of like
Bill as well.
12 and Bill, they're just good friends, just really good friends, and it's like that's what you need to start off this era. You don't need to try and crowbar some romance in. You just want, these are two separate people who have, if what's believed to be true from previous leaks, spoiler alert for anybody in case it is true, obviously there are going to be parallels in terms of family parallels between the 15th Doctor and Ruby. And so I just love the idea that you're just going to have these two people who have met these are two people who have met in a club, so they both frequent the same places, they're both living their own lives, they've both got a background they can relate to, and that's exactly what would make two good friends. And that's it. They're friends. That's it. End of conversation. There's no romance. There's no shipping. I know people are going to do it, but you don't need to. This is mates. That's all it should be.
I just love. Sorry, go on.
No, I was just saying, I think what will also be interesting is, and this is just a quick, it doesn't necessarily have to be, that we're talking about many things, but what I like is the fact that, because I was talking to a friend about this earlier when he asked me my thoughts on this episode, which is, I don't think you can judge RTD's new era based on the 60th.
No.
Because it's based around bringing back old elements and exploring the character. This Christmas with this special will be our first inkling as to where we are actually going.
Yeah.
RTD2 starts with Shooty.
I also think this is.
We've been reviewing these 60th specials, but ultimately, with the church on Ruby Road, this will be our first indication. This is where the show is now headed.
Yeah.
The 60th specials is a bridge.
Yeah,
We've now crossed that bridge.
Celebration of everything that came before while showing what's to come, and this is the production quality we're aiming for moving forward.
That's kind of what I think Russell described it as, that the bridge, and that I think I heard about this earlier this week, that even the stuff that the Disney influence, the Disney funding mostly came in around the time that Shooty's series started. So it's like, look, we are, it's like kind of this is where the new era is. I kind of felt like we watching the by regeneration and everything. It felt in a nice way that look, all those older elements, thank God we had a new series companion and a classic series companion there for the by regeneration. The old and the new merge into one, the Whoniverse.
Yeah.
And and it's just we can let some of that stuff rest and move on with this new era.
Yeah. Yeah. And I could have sworn that Disney influenced the opening of Star Beast.
Yeah.
I do think that
definitely.
It's just what the hell was that? And even Rachel is it Talale? I can never get
Talale.
Talale. She has gone, that's nothing to do with me. Don't associate me with it. Wasn't it a tweet that somebody went, I can't believe that this was from this was directed by this person who directed these things.
Yeah.
Don't you dare say that this was from me. But no, I'm really looking forward to seeing where the show goes. I've heard the theme tune is going to be slightly different for Shooting. Slightly.
Oh, yeah. The title sequence as well, they said, yeah.
Yeah, just ever so slightly. I know that I really hope they fix the logo.
Oh yeah. Jeez. We all know Daniel J. Patton is
it's such a shame, because I feel like that was the opportunity to use the diamond logo.
Yeah.
That they made. That every other expanded media and logo have been using, but then they didn't. I'm like, what? It's your logo. Why didn't you use it?
No, I've just had a thought in regards to that Star Beast prologue. So you talk about, the Doctor says, once upon a Time Lord, I had a best friend. Her name was Donna Noble, Time Lord Jimi, we traveled together. Now, his last line in that, the Doctor is, I think the story hasn't ended yet. What if that bit of that prologue of the 14th Doctor there, what if that is his final internal monologue before he becomes the 15th Doctor? He's reviewing what led up to that point. So when he says, I think the story hasn't ended yet, but why has this face come back now? Why? And he's reviewing what's led up to that point. I don't know, just a thought. Just a thought.
I mean, it's a nice way for us to like make sense of it.
Because I feel, because again, this is where we jump out of order with regards to Disney involvement. I feel like that prologue was added very last minute.
Definitely.
Look at David. Look at David's hair.
Shirley about it. When he's talking to Shirley about the story, that's when the flashbacks were meant to happen.
Yes.
Yeah.
But they wanted it explained immediately so that everyone knew where we were. But it just feels like the problem is that the other scene with Shirley just feels a bit like an exposition dump because we just heard it.
Pretty much, yeah.
But anyway, so I'm thinking as well, because we're going to try and do the review for the Christmas special.
Yes.
We'll try to do it maybe a couple of days after Christmas and stuff.
Yep.
We'll leave our Sonic Screwdriver reviews until then, until we've seen it.
Yes, but yes.
We've seen it being announced. Everyone's made memes and jokes.
Wait
I feel like
we
are 2 weeks away from seeing it in action. We can reserve judgment.
Yes.
We told each other how we feel.
Prepare yourselves, dear listeners, for Dripping Hartnell Podcast for 15th Doctor episode.
Should we just
my mind?
Shall we just do a whole separate podcast, even if it's only like 10 minutes, just to talk about the Sonic?
I mean,
yeah. Okay.
One thing that I'll say, I like that Shooty's getting involved in the way he's talking about it. I love that he's got. Also, thank God one Doctor has the current Doctor has an Instagram because he's actually with the fans and
he's made a couple of jokes. But yes, so.
Also, can we just have a whole separate podcast of me just blowing my load over Shooty Gatwa?
Yeah, it's fine. We'll just sit here and listen. You can just monologue.
So, is that everything that everyone wanted to say?
It could be a new segment.
I'm sure there are probably many things that are going to come to mind because I think the bottom line is it's going to be one of those ones that I really am going to rewatch a good few more times because there's so much to take in. And I think even now that I'm going to be having just talked about it, I'm going to suddenly be rewatching it and thinking, oh, why didn't I see that? I could have talked about that. It's absolutely fantastic. I really, like I said, it's only because that Wild Blue Yonder spoke to me more on a I would say production level, and also Midnight being one of my favorite new series episodes. It had that quality to it. But I'm almost inclined to say, just having talked about it on this podcast, I am almost inclined to say that I might actually have to move Giggle up to join Wild Blue Yonder, because it really is just fantastic.
The more you think about it, the more elements you think about, and you're just like, you know what? It was like.
The more you think about it, the more you realize how much you continue to appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's been an hour and a half.
We have been going this for quite a while, actually. I've just realized.
Because we haven't had Abby here to wrangle us in.
Oh, that's true, yes. We haven't had our resident wrangler.
Abby's just going to see the length and just go, what the hell did you do?
I leave you alone for one evening, boys.
Yeah, I know. But I also want to preface and say, regarding Dripping Hartnell Podcast, you will notice that we are currently recording this out of order. If you listen to the Star Beast, we talked as if it was the next episode. In actual fact, it's the first episode you've heard on Overton Audios. We are hoping to we're probably going to record a Sonic Screwdriver one in a minute now, and then we'll do the Christmas special later. But we did start recording the Dripping Hartnell Podcast back in July or August. Of 20.
So you're not going to see me for a little bit. And then you're gonna see an episode where I'm acting as if it's my first one, because it was.
So as a result, we did initially start making the series. We did it on a separate YouTube channel. Getting the views was a little bit difficult, so we decided to move it here, and it worked out greatly. However, will preface and say that we are going to be re-releasing them on the Overton Audio's YouTube channel from January 3rd, twice a week, until the middle of February, at that point of which you will see Mr. Colin J. Sumner appear and go, wow, my first podcast.
Yep.
And even he's been here the whole time.
Yeah.
I mean,
and then you'll see people like Rory Guest, who's Russell on Productions, appear briefly for we watched Snake Dance, for example. We've watched quite a few things, not just current like Doctor Who stuff. This is just because the 60th was on, and it makes sense. And this is what we want to do when the series comes back after the Christmas special. We want to start doing this as well.
Hopefully, you'll see
of Doctor Who that we want to watch as well. And
hopefully, you'll see James Sutton at some
well, I was about to say if we're gonna do one about the Sonic, we've got to get him on.
Sutton needs to be
he won't
there. Yeah.
be here.
Ever.
I don't know. If we tell him we're
just...
discussing the new Sonic screwdriver prop, he will. If we just at this point said "shooty Sonic screwdriver" 3 times, we probably just summon him.
Yeah, probably.
I mean, technically, no, we are just kind of going, Sutton, where are you?
Why are you not here? You wanted to be. Where are you? Where are you, man?
Dear God, man.
But yes, so thank you all for listening to the Dripping Hartnell podcast for the Giggle. I was waiting for a giggle there. Cool, brilliant. Well, thank you all for listening. We might be back with the Sonic Screwdriver one, or the Christmas special, or both. So we'll find out together. Yes, indeed.
Yeah,
because we don't know yet ourselves.
Yes,
isn't that the best way to do things?
Yes, indeed. Farewell, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Farewell.